folks, and welcome once again to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. Now today I've managed to talk Mrs H into letting me out to play again. I've got off the brush again for another day. We've sort of done a bit of a trade-off, me and Mrs H. I'm going to another family function tomorrow, and to Mrs H.
That wasn't the trade-off.
Yeah, it's a trade-off. It really was Hot Potters, it was a trade-off. So seeing as I'm going to that, sort of come out and play with the girls, Mrs H. Now, I'm back on the site of those mines that I did the other day. This one is called John Pit. Now, there's been a little bit of a controversy between two of my viewers. A guy called Mick Byrne, hello to you, sir, and who I'm assuming is another guy called Blackadder. Apologies if you know a guy, Blackadder. Now, Blackadder claims, as where I was last time, which is over in that direction, just a short distance away, just beyond them trees there, that's where I was last time. He claims I was near Standish Old Drift Man. Mick Byrne claimed, no you're not, Mr H was over near John Pit. Well, Mick Byrne was correct on this one. I am stood in between the two shafts of John Pit. There's one of them there, where Lucy is. And there's the other one, slowly being lost in the undergrowth there. I'll try and stick a bit of a period photo in now so you can see what it's like. Right, what we're going to do today, we've sort of exhausted this area, we're going to make our way over to another pit, which is over in that direction, called Taylor Pit. We once found some ruins, didn't we, before, Mrs H?
We did. I don't think we'll find them again today.
Well, hopefully we will, otherwise this is going to be a very short video. Now, we may pass the Driftman ruins, because Mick Byrne claims they're in the woods about a quarter of a mile from here. And if you remember, Mrs H, when we was in there once, we saw this what looked like a concrete structure buried. I'm presuming that that's the Standish Driftman ruins, but you never know. Anyway, it seems between Mick Byrne and Blackadder, they sort of resolved what those ruins that I was looking in before, which I'll put up a link to here now, what there was. Apparently, it was sort of the filter beds for the old baths, which was just not far from here. So you've solved that one, guys. But yeah, Mick Byrne, you're correct. You know this area a lot better than I do. So, we'll make our way to Taylor Pit now. Right, well, we're now deep in the woods. We've left behind the shafts of John Pit, and we're at that concrete structure, which is behind me. Now, I'm wondering if this is the entrance to the Standish Old Drift Man that Mick Byrne's talking about, Mrs H. Maybe, Mick, if you watch this video, you can confirm that. Now, the last time we was in here, I actually thought this was some form of bunker or loading bay, didn't I?
Yeah, we got excited, didn't we?
Yeah. I mean, if it is the entrance, I'll stick a period photo in of Standish Old Drift Man now. Now, obviously, you won't be able to see the entrance where, you know, even if it is on the other side, it'll be buried. They won't leave that exposed. They won't want people going in. But we'll take a look around it now, because it is rather large. And whether or not this was part of the Drift Man, or whether actually this is the top of the entrance, if that makes any sense or not, I don't know. Anyway, we'll take a look round it now and explore it a little bit. So this is the face of it, where I've just been stood talking to you. As you can see, it's rather long. All built out of concrete, which I believe the Standish Old Drift Man opened in about 1949. So there would be concrete around at that time, although it would be poor quality compared to what we have today. Just going to make our way down this little path here now and look on the other side. Well, this side's less impressive. You can't actually see anything, you can only just make out the top of it there. I'll make my way up that path in a bit and we'll have a look at it from the top, but the other side's the best view of it, really. Like I said, whether or not that's the top of the tunnel, that tunnel edge on that photograph or not, who knows. I can't see what this would be in here for though, Mrs H, otherwise. It's just, I know there's obviously been little buildings and that, because there's been so many pits in very close proximity here, so it's very easy to get confused if you're not a native of the area. There's a brick pillar there behind us, whether or not that's from the mines or not. You know, who knows. I do know we found like a little brick shelter, didn't we?
We did somewhere.
Somewhere, whether we'll find it this time or not, I don't know. But I'll make my way up there now, and we'll take a look at it from above. Right, where Rose is helpfully sniffing there, that's a pipe that leads into that concrete structure that Lucy's walking about on. and I'm now on top of it. It doesn't look as big from up here, obviously it is. And then there's like little concrete chambers at either end of it. That's looking down one, which is just filled with rubbish. And the same along here. There's another one at the end. And what those would have been for, who knows. There's lots of brickwork, you know, fallen masonry and that in here. So this has obviously been an area to one of these pits. Now Taylor Pit is over there in them trees somewhere, way over there. And the only thing that remains of Taylor Pit, besides one or two little ruins that we came across, is a lodge or a reservoir belonging to the pit. That's still there, although now it's just like a large pond. So we're going to make our way through the trees, and with a bit of luck we'll be able to find Taylor Pit. Now as we're making our way along the path, we found another little brick pier, and this one's been hollowed out as though it's been carrying a pipe or something like that, you know, or wires or something. Obviously something that needed to be above ground. You can just make it out there. Obviously there's moss on top of that there. You can tell where they've capped it there with the cement, you know, like you would in a brick chamber. And you can see where the pipe's been there at one time. So we're definitely on the right track, I think. So we're making our way along this path now, and hopefully the path should widen out and we should come up to that brick structure that we found that time, Mrs H. Or we're on the wrong side of the fence, which is a high probability. As people know who watch my videos, my internal compass goes all over the place at times, doesn't it, Mrs H?
You enjoy getting us lost.
Well folks, we've managed to find that brick structure, haven't we, Mrs H?
We have.
We sort of retraced our steps from our last recce, walking along the bridleway, and it's just off to one side in the woods. Now we're not at where I think Taylor Pit was just yet. I think it's still over that way. We'll follow a path along and we'll sort of follow a field, and it should just be there. Now what this brick structure's been, who knows? It's definitely part of the pits because you can tell with the way it's been built. This is what's left of the roof. And I should imagine they just pulled it off or just demolished it and have left it in this state. All this area is used for now is just throwing wood in. We're currently in Ellen Up Wood, and as I said, we've walked along the bridleway, and I do know that at one time they came in here and they cleared this area so people could come in like ourselves and have a walk round. So it looks like they just used this as a dumping ground and then forgot about it. So we'll take a look at it now. There's not really a lot to see. There's just one entrance here and one entrance over there. I don't think it's been a powder magazine, which is sometimes found on old mine areas, which is where they used to put all the powder, you know, for when they was blowing the coal seams and all that, because those are of a different design. It's definitely not one of them. It's just been a storage shed of one time. So we'll take a look around it now. Now, there's not a great lot to see with this little structure. As I said, it's just been a brick shed, storing whatever at the time. Why it didn't get demolished along with the rest of the pits, who knows? You know, probably the demolition crews themselves was keeping stuff in here and they just forgot about it. It's basically just two walls now. As I said, there's that wood rubbish that's been thrown in modern day. And lots of fallen masonry and brickwork once again in this area, so it was probably larger than just that one shed. Now apparently somebody came metal detecting in this area a few years back. I don't know whether it was here or whether it was further over, and they actually found one of the old coal tubs from this area, and they managed to excavate it and take it away, clean it up, and I think it's now on display in Crook Village somewhere, so we may go and have a little look at Potters and see if that's still the case. The fellow was really proud of it. I'll put a link in this video to his website and you can see that being excavated. Because it is quite interesting. After all, it is a bit of heritage. Because apparently what they did with this pit, they just covered it over. You know, they didn't take everything out as such. You know, and that's why probably you've still got little structures like this dotted around here and there. Anyway, we're going to make our way up now to that path, which I think should lead us on to Taylor Pit, which is our goal. Right, so we think, don't we, Mrs H? Because as I say, I'm coming back round the opposite way to our recce. We think this is the wall I was talking about, and we think Taylor Pit would have been just behind this. Because as I said, obviously it would have been in a little enclosed area. So, with a bit of luck now, we'll cross over this wall where it's fallen, and we should come to the largest of the structures that's left of Taylor Pit. So come on, Mrs H, follow me. Now, one of the things that always amazes me with old colliery sites, you know, the ones that date from the 1800s and that way on, is obviously this is the boundary wall here that you can just see the remains of it. And just look how low it is, even on the other side, and allowing for the age of time, the passage of time type of thing. You know, they're not very high. You know, you'd easily scale that. But, you know, modern day fences, they're what, 8 foot, 12 foot tall, barbed wire on and all that kind of stuff that keep people out. But back then, people respected it. Now, it seems we're being followed, aren't we, Mrs H, around this area? Because we keep hearing, oh, Mrs H has heard a voice behind her. Where I've not heard anything. But usually I'm on that game, aren't I, off camera, Mrs H, talking about rubbish and that. But yeah, she's heard a unfamiliar voice at the back, so maybe there's still a collier on this site.
There's nobody there. I didn't know if it were a dog walker at first, but I've not seen anybody.
Well, that's obviously what you'd think, but who knows, maybe there's still workers on this site, Mrs H, who haven't clocked off yet, so still waiting for the last shift.
Well, come on lads, go home.
Right. Make our way through here now, and like I said, this big structure should just be over here if I remember rightly. Like I say, I'm trying to remember it in reverse, and I've only ever been in here for the once, as you have, Mrs H, so with a bit of luck we should come across it, because it's pretty impressive. I think it's been part of an old winding gear or something like that. Like I said, with a bit of luck we can find it. So here we are, folks. We finally made it to what I think was the site of Taylor Pit. No doubt Mick Byrne and Blackadder will probably come on and have an argument about this and say, no, you're not. There's some stonework here, just behind me. Beyond that there's a metal pipe. So there's lots of old ruins and little bits and pieces. There's part of a stone structure just over there, which we're going to have a look at, which is what I thought was part of a winding gear, you know, or some kind of power. And I'll show you why I think that in a moment. Now, one thing Mrs H pointed out just off camera as we were coming through after that little spooky incident was that really we should come in winter to these things, because that's when I find them, that's when we do the recce's, isn't it, Mrs H?
It is when there's no leaves.
There's no leaves, there's nothing. And then in summer I say, well, I'll go and film that. And when you come back in, things have started growing and the landscape changes. So she does have a point there. Anyway, we'll take a little look now at this stone structure. I think this area is where they pulled that tub out from that I mentioned back there. Now I thought there was some brickwork in here to this one, but there's not. It's just all built out of stone, so this is a really old pit. This probably does date from about the 1800s. You know, although I don't know the actual date when it did open and when it closed. Also, I don't know where the shafts are to this one. They're obviously in the woods somewhere, capped. So there's only these remains that are left now. Just these brick walls. You know, Mrs H, that might actually be the shaft. That might actually be the square around the base of the shaft, I don't know. I'm not going to risk climbing up there in case it is.
Oh, go on.
But no, that does look like one to me. So, again, I don't know. Maybe Mick, you can tell us, because you obviously know this area like back of your hand. We're just strangers here, aren't we, Mrs H?
Yeah.
We just come and visit. Right, we'll make our way up here and we'll see what else is left. I thought this might have been a winding gear of some description, because I remember when we came in here last time, there's sort of a wall, and in it there's a big stone, and it's half bevelled out and chiselled out. I don't know if you remember that, Mrs. H.
I don't remember that.
And that's where I think was part of that winding gear, so we'll try and find that for you, and I think we'll wrap it up from there if we find it.
Okay.
Right, up this path I think, Mrs. H. Right, we've just come along a little bit further from the edge of that wall where I was just filming from. You can make out the wall there in the undergrowth. This is a combination of brick and stonework, so whether or not this was a later addition to this pit, who knows? Probably, because back there it was just all stone. It probably started out life just as a small pit, Mrs. H, and slowly grew as they started excavating the coal further on. Now that hollowed out stonework is just through here, where Lucy's making her way through now. Like I said, all this has sprung up since we was last in here, because it was all flattened, this, wasn't it?
Winter!
Yeah, you're right, winter's probably the best time. You're not getting hold of an handful of nettles then, or anything like that, are you?
I won't be doing this soon with a buggy.
No, definitely not. Definitely not hot potters. As much as I enjoy doing videos. Oh, we'll probably be doing different types of videos then, won't we?
Yeah.
You see lots of concrete slabs here, so this is definitely a later addition. I don't know if the camera will make out on that one though, but you can see where there's been corrugated iron used as shuttering on it. You know, they poured the concrete over it and then it's set, leaving the ridges underneath it. Lots of stonework there that would have been parts of, you can see that one's been chiselled out. You know, it's been dressed, that, so that's been a lintel or something. Yeah, this one where it's half hollowed out is here. You can see that's a substantial piece of stone. And this has been deliberately chiselled out. Well, it's two parts actually. And it's been chiselled out there for something to sit on. You know, which to me that looks like it's been something like a big axle or something that's gone through. So there would have probably been another one of these on the other side, and a wheel of some description would have sat in here. Now whether or not that was to pit head gears, you know, or whether or not it was a little way of forming power for in the mines, who knows? Who knows, but certainly interesting. Now this is a close-up of that stone that's been dressed. As you can see, it's a socket of some description. You know, it's been deliberately cut out. It's one big piece of stone, that, and it's a substantial piece of stone. So I would say something with some weight has sat in that, Mrs. H. Now, as you pointed out, the last time I was in here in winter, this was all full of water. You can see with the plants there, the sort of plants that grow in water. So there would have been a water channel, like a little canal, that would have run down along the side of that wall where we've just come through. Obviously with the very dry weather, it's all dried out. So yeah, there could have been a wheel of some description in there, and they probably forced the water through somewhere to generate power somewhere. I mean, it is an old pit, so electricity and that was in its infancy. You know, they had to create it in steam power and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I think we're on the right track here, and I think we're probably where we're stood now. There would have been another one of those, but that's fallen to all further time. Anyway, folks, that's it. We've made our way through to Taylor Pit. There is a reservoir further over, but it's too tall. I don't think we're going to get to that. You know, Mrs. H hasn't got anything on her legs, bless her, so she's getting stung with nettles and that. She suffers for my artwork, don't you?
Oh, yes.
I think on that note, we'll leave it there. So, folks, until the next time, from myself, from Mrs. H, and from the girls, here in Taylor Pit, it is bye-bye for now.